Hey there, beautiful people! On today's episode of Apothecary Wisdom, we're going to be talking all about herbal tinctures. We're going to be talking about what herbal tinctures are, and we're going to compare alcohol tinctures to glycerin tinctures and the benefits between them both, and how to remove the alcohol if you want to take the alcohol out of a tincture. So go ahead and push like and subscribe and ring the bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. We drop a new video every Friday. And if this is our first time meeting, my name is Maria Chaudhry. I'm a midwife and an herbalist. And as a midwife, I've helped hundreds of babies be born safely at home. And as an herbalist, I've created an herbal botanical line. And we make tons of tinctures and we sell them all over the world. You can learn about us at birthsongbotanicals.com. So let's get started and talk about what is an herbal tincture. What are herbal tinctures? Essentially, the definition tincture is saying that an herbal tincture is an herb that's been extracted from alcohol. Let me break it down. When you're going to make an alcohol extraction of a plant, you can use a fresh part of the plant or you can use a dry plant. You can use one plant or you can put a bunch of plants together and extract them together as a combination. The parts of plants that you can extract medicinal properties from or the medicinal qualities from are from the roots, from the bark, from the stems, from the leaves, from the flowers, and from the berries. When you're making an herbal tincture, you're going to extract the medicinal properties of those parts of the plants by combining equal parts of water and equal parts of alcohol to make a solvent. That solvent becomes a menstruum. In other words, it's a solvent that's going to pull out the plant properties and the alkaloids and the vitamins and the minerals. And once you make the tincture, you'll put the herbs into the jar, you'll put your menstruum, your solvent over the top, you'll cap it, and you'll shake it up, and you'll let it sit for about 6 weeks. That's called masquerading. And after 6 weeks, and after it's been shaken up every day for 6 weeks, then you have this herbal combination, right? So what you want to do is you want to separate out the spent part, you want to separate out the used part of the plants, which is called the marc. You're going to separate that part out, you're going to compost that part, and then you're going to filter out this liquid. This liquid is now concentrated medicinal liquid, and that is called a tincture. Once you get that liquid, you're going to cap it in an amber glass jar. You're going to cap it well, label it, put the date on it, and seal it, and put it in your herb cabinet. Okay, so that's what a tincture is, an alcohol tincture. Now, there are lots of other herbal extractions and other herbal products that people call tinctures, but technically, only the alcohol extractions are tinctures. However, there are some that are similar, like sometimes people use glycerin to extract the plant properties, and some people utilize vinegar to extract the plant properties, and they call those tinctures, right? Really, if we want to get technical, you can extract plant properties with water. That's what a tea is, that's what an infusion is, that's what a decoction is. Compress is. That you can also extract herbs with oil, and you can make a lotion, a cream, a salve, and you can extract herbs in honey, and you can make syrups. So there are lots of ways you can extract medicinal properties, but I'd like to talk to you really about the alcohol extraction process, about the glycerin extraction process, and about the vinegar extraction process. And so the glycerin, think of glycerin as this thick, it's super thick, super sweet, clear, odorless substance, right? Like syrup. And when you're going to mix a little, primarily, some people do half glycerin and half water. I tend to do more like 75% glycerin and 25% water. But you're going to mix the glycerin and water to make a solvent, to make that menstruum, and you're going to pour it over the herbs, just like I described with a tincture. here I'm going to start to compare the two. Here's some of the differences. A tincture, an alcohol extraction, is strong and potent and powerful and tastes strong, and it is a really good extractor. So alcohol can get those plant chemicals that don't lend themselves easily to water, right? And so when you think about tough, woody parts of the plant, like think about the roots. I mean, roots already, you have to kind of dig for them in the earth. They don't just give themselves to you, right? You have to work for it. So alcohol is a little bit like that. It's that strong ability to go into the roots and get the medicine out, to go into the tough part of the bark, to go into those seeds that are really closed up and firm, right? So alcohol is really great at extracting that. Whereas glycerins, it's softer, it's sweeter, it's thick, but it's lighter, right? And so it's good for the aerial parts of the plants, right? So the stems and the leaves and the flowers and the fresh berries. Okay? Alcohol is really good at getting the medicinal properties out, like the alkaloids and some of the vitamins and minerals, but not so much that. It's primarily all those active constituents, the part that makes it astringent, the part that makes it anti-inflammatory, the part that helps you stop bleeding, the part that fights the infection. Like alcohol pulls those active medicines out. Where glycerins do that too, but not as effectively. What glycerins pull out are the flavors. They pull out the scent, the aroma, the taste. So think of like licorice or anise or ginger or peppermint or fennel or lavender or valerian even. They all have strong aromas and flavors. So glycerin really pulls that out. So in terms of one of the benefits, because we're kind of comparing these two extraction processes, like alcohol is going to make a potent, strong tasting herbal preparation, and glycerin is going to make a potent, sweeter, more delicious tasting herbal medicine, right? And so for some people that's more of a benefit, especially if you're trying to give that to young children, or if you're trying to give it to people that are brand new to herbs and they really don't know what to expect, and you hit them with a powerful alcohol extraction, they might be like, whoa, I don't know if I can do this. But you can give them a sweet tasting, like stomach soother, one of our stomach soothers over here with peppermint and ginger. They're like, oh, that's delicious, right? What else do I want to tell you about the comparison? So alcohol is like an excellent preservative. So it will not really allow for bacteria to grow, or won't really allow for mold to grow, whereas glycerin is sweet, syrupy, like sugar, right? So alcohol can preserve a tincture and have a shelf life. Like an industry standard, like from an herb company, we have to put an expiration date and we have to say the shelf life is 5 years. But I have herbs in my medicine closet that are well over 5 years old and they're still effective, right? However, a glycerin is not as potent, not as strong. It's not going to have as long a shelf life. Its shelf life is going to be like 14 months to 3 years. And since glycerin is sweet like sugar, there is more of a potential for things like mold, yeast, bacteria to grow in these herbal preparations. Okay, what else do I want to tell you? Okay, alcohol is not always the most appropriate medicine for everyone, right? You're trying to give a 6-month-old baby an alcohol tincture. You can do it. Technically, it would be technically okay, but they're going to and not want to take it. Or they're going to prefer a glycerite tincture. Or you think about people that are very devout in their spiritual practice and in their religious practice, and they are not going to allow alcohol into their temple, and you can really respect that. So we have to give them herbal medicines that don't include alcohol. So that's where glycerite will really shine. I'm about to start to talk to you about vinegars. So vinegars are appropriate for this group of people. Another group of people are people that have, they've worked really hard to combat alcoholism and addiction, and you don't want their herbal tincture that you think is really helpful for them for their cough and cold to be the thing that spirals them back down, right? So you want to have an herbal option for them that's appropriate. So those are some of the most appropriate reasons to consider when you're comparing alcohol versus glycerin. Another thing I want to say is just from an herb company perspective, when you're making herbs for yourself as an herbalist, like here I am in the mind of an herbalist for myself and my family, I personally am going to try to make the most affordable, the most potent, powerful herbal medicine that is concentrated, so that ultimately I'm going to use the least amount and it's going to last the longest and it's going to go the furthest. That's my mentality, right? That's my person. But now I make remedies for everybody else, right? And everybody else, they don't come from that mentality, and they have a problem that needs a solution, but they're not understanding that their solution, sometimes they want the potency of the medicine, but they don't want the intensity of the alcohol flavor, right? So I'm making stuff for other people, and I need to make it so it's delicious and delightful and inviting, and so they're going to take it, so it makes it more accessible. So that's one thing. Another thing about just from an herbal business perspective is how you're going to ship and store your products. So alcohol is technically more accessible. I could go to the store right now and buy a bottle of alcohol. I could make a tincture. If I wanted glycerin, I'd have to order that online, and it's more expensive per gallon, and I have to wait several days before I get it. So in terms of per unit, alcohol tincture is more affordable than a glycerin tincture, right? However, when you're thinking about selling things online and selling things around the world, alcohol is flammable. So there has to be special warehouses for alcohol tinctures versus glycerin tinctures. So in order to ship, for example, this, which is a glycerin, this is good night, right? This is a glycerin tincture. If I were to ship 144 units of glycerin to a warehouse so I could sell it all over the world, then it'll cost me like $8 or $10 to ship it. If I were to take this, my bestseller, and ship it to a warehouse so I can sell it all over the world, then this is going to cost me about $30 to $50 to ship it, right? And then the storage in a warehouse, because is a few cents per cubic inch, and this is like 50 cents per cubic inch. So it starts to become, you're starting to think about the comparison of the value of alcohol versus a glycerin and which one is more economic, right? Because ultimately that affects the prices of the medicine that people buy. Another extraction process that I want to talk about are vinegars. But before I do that, I'm curious, like, what are other benefits that you have seen when you're taking an alcohol tincture versus taking a glycerin tincture? What are some benefits that you have? And go ahead and put those in the comments and let me know. And, okay, vinegars. So vinegars are wonderful extractions because they work differently than glycerins, and they work differently than alcohol. Remember, the alcohol pulls out the medicinal properties, these active constituents. The glycerins pull out the flavors, and the vinegar pulls out the vitamins and the minerals. Think of the vinegar as food. You know, food is your medicine, but this is more as food category. So when you're going to work with a vinegar extraction, you're going to make a nourishing, tonifying, digestive tonic, right? And you're going to extract the vitamins and minerals, and you're going to work with very nourishing foods, very nourishing herbs like red raspberry leaf, nettle, oat straw, dandelion. Those are going to be the herbs that are going to really lend themselves really well to an extraction process. A thick seed and a bark and a root isn't going to extract very well in a vinegar unless it's a fresh dandelion root, right? So a few other things I want to talk about in terms of extractions are, people are really concerned about the alcohol, right? So they're like, and I'm a midwife and I serve the birth community and I serve pregnant women and I serve breastfeeding moms. And then I get these questions, and it's cute, it's lovely, I love it. They're like, oh my gosh, you're a midwife. Why is there alcohol in this? I mean, is this okay? And I'm like, well, yeah. Well, this is a perfect teaching opportunity. So yeah, there's alcohol in this because, see, this is a tincture, and a tincture is an alcohol extraction. So there has to be alcohol in it for me to make it. Oh, what about these? And then I explain to them about glycerites. So then I make them a glycerite too. There's your glycerite. But is alcohol safe for me while I'm pregnant or while I'm breastfeeding? And so it's like, okay, great. This is another opportunity to talk about it. Two things I want to say about that is the amount of alcohol that's in this tincture right here. This is a 1 ounce tincture. An alcohol solvent has half water and half alcohol. That means half of this bottle is filled with water and the other half is filled with alcohol. This dose that you're going to take is like 20 to 40 drops a few times a day. So when you think about 20 to 40 drops a few times a day, that amount of alcohol is negligible. It is not at all a concern. You will not get drunk. It will not affect your baby. It will not affect your breast milk, right? The amount of alcohol is like compared to a vanilla extract, or even an overripe banana has more alcohol than this. I think the more important question, or the better question to ask is the herb in this remedy safe for me while I'm pregnant? Is this herb or this remedy safe for me while I'm breastfeeding my baby? Because I'm holding this tincture right here, right? This tincture is for breastfeeding moms. It's going to help them make a bunch of milk. So I wouldn't make it for breastfeeding moms if it wasn't going to be good for them, right? However, this remedy is for breastfeeding moms. It's not for pregnancy. So it's not the alcohol that's the problem for pregnant women. It's the herbs in here are not intended for pregnant women because they're intended to make breast milk, right? They require different hormonal functions in your body. So it's not, I just want to clarify, it's not the alcohol that makes this not appropriate for pregnancy. It's the herbs. So when you're asking yourself, is this safe for pregnancy? Start looking a little deeper into what herbs are included in the blend. If you're in a situation that you have an herbal tincture and you want the medicinal properties of the tincture, but you don't want the alcohol in it, and that's what you have is an alcohol tincture, then, and you want to take the alcohol out, it's super easy to do. Don't worry, let me show you. You're just going to have to use your imagination because I'm drinking water because it's a hot summer day today and I don't have the air conditioner on, so I'm drinking cool water. But imagine that this is a teacup filled with hot water. So if I want to take the alcohol out of a tincture, I want to fill my cup with boiling water. It could just be plain boiling water, but we're going to make a tea. We're going to make a medicinal beverage here. So fill your cup up with your herbs and your tea, not all the way up, but just most of the way. And let your herbs and your tea steep so they can infuse, so you have a strong tea. And then after your herbs have steeped long enough, then you can add some more boiling water. Now it's hot again. And then you get your tincture, and you want the recommended amount, and I made a whole other video that talks to you about the recommended amount. But so you're going to drop the herbs. This is important. The drops have to be on top of the surface of the water because the hot water is going to evaporate the alcohol. This is what I don't want you to do. There are two things that I don't want you to do. I don't want you to put a lid on it to let it steep, because when you put a lid on it and let it steep, the heat is going to evaporate and then it's going to condensate and then it's going to drip back down into your cup and you're not going to release the alcohol. So you have to let it steep for 5 minutes with the top off. The other problem is sometimes people are not really aware and they take this dropper, which I'm not really going to do it, but they take this dropper and they plunge it into the tea, like the glass part is inside the water, and then they release the herbs. And when you do that, the alcohol is not touching the surface, and so it's not going to be evaporated. What's going to happen, it's going to stay as a water molecule inside your tea, and then you'll still have the alcohol in it. So super simple, just drop the alcohol on the surface, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then you can drink it. Okay? So that in a nutshell just tells you what tinctures are, how to take the alcohol out, and what's the differences, and some alcohol alternatives. So let me know how you feel about alcohol in your tinctures in the comments. I want to let you know that this video is a part of a much longer blog post that I talk a lot about everything you need to know about tinctures. So you can go to that blog post on our website. And when you go to the website, you'll also see all of our tinctures here. And since you watched this video, you'll get a code. I'm giving it to you now, so it's not written down anywhere, so you're getting it. It's the word tinctures. It's all caps, and you just put that into your checkout, and you'll get 10% off on any of the tinctures that you see here. And this is a part of a series, so if you want to know how to make tinctures, how to store tinctures, how to dose tinctures, then watch the other videos. They'll pop up on the suggested videos, or there'll be links down below. So go ahead and push like and subscribe to this video. Share it with your friends. It means a lot to me. And until next time, my friends, drink deep and always walk in beauty.